this is my review of Assassination Classroom. Okay, so in this episode, Karma learns humility, I guess. Not kind of, sort of, but not really. I'll get to that. And also something funny happens regarding Nagisa. I don't want to spoil it, but it's really good. It's really good, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But I'll get to that in a minute. But in any case, it starts off between the fight with Grip and Karma. Karma starts off by swinging a ficus down on Grip's head, and Grip stops it and breaks it with his bare hands, pointing out that Karma probably should have brought a stronger weapon to fight with. And Karma, with no other choice, proceeds to fight in hand-to-hand combat. And the rest of the class notices that Karma has seemed to have picked up Karasuma's defensive techniques from class. And Karasuma even confirms that they are indeed his moves, but also points out that he realizes in his head that he never actually taught Karma any of these. He picked them up all by himself, all on his own, all by himself. And Karasuma can't help but be impressed. And for the moment, Karma is only using defensive techniques. He quickly realizes that if he gets hit, that if he goes in for an attack, he'll be caught by Grip, and then Grip will crush his head like an egg. And he knows full well that this guy is strong, so he's trying to go on the defensive to make sure that doesn't happen. Eventually though, Grip does catch on the fact that Karma is only guarding, and asks him and tells him that he needs to go all out on his defenses as well as defenses if he stands a chance of actually beating him. And Karma realizing that he's right, decides to go into a actual fighting stance, and the two resume their fight. And Karma goes on the offensive for about 5 seconds, and then eventually kicks the guy in the balls. So and proceeds to move in for another attack, only for Grip to whip out one of Smog's gas canisters and spray Karma point blank in the face. And Karma seemingly passes out. And the rest of the kids understandably call him out for basically cheating. They're not entirely happy about the fact that he cheated. And Grip merely responds that he knows that it's wrong, but since he isn't on somebody else's payroll and therefore isn't allowed to play fair, he kind of had no choice. And he has to stop them no matter what. And points out that in the real world, that's just how it works. You can't always pick a fair fight. Sometimes people are going to try and use underhanded tactics to stop you. Unfortunately, his rant is stopped mid-sentence when Karma also sprays him point blank in the face, revealing himself to be perfectly fine, and from there he's able to easily subdue Grip. And then the rest of the students dogpile on at Karma's request and duct tape his hands and legs together so that he can't actually hurt anybody. And Karma initially shows Grip utmost respect, pointing out that though Karma seemed like he was only focusing on his open hands, in truth, Karma was prepared for everything except hand-to-hand combat. And also reveals that he did swipe Smog's canister from him, which is about what people should have expected. But he points out that he had fun facing off against Grip, and that and then under normal circumstances he would love to actually fight him in a fair fight. And Koro-sensei can't help but be proud of him, pointing out that it seems that Karma has finally learned some humility and has actually started looking at his opponents like a person instead of an obstacle, and realizes that the finals were most likely what caused this newfound change of heart, and is excited to see what kind of person Karma will grow to. But then he completely derails that when Karma reveals that he's still a sadist, and then pulls a bunch of spicy things out of his backpack and proceeds to shove them into Grip's nose and mouth. And Koro-sensei immediately disregards everything he just said, and that Karma's still a sadist. But in case, after messing with him, they actually proceed to go to the 6th floor, which is the club floor, where all the rich students and other wealthy kids hang out. And the kids quickly realize that they're kind of going to stick out like a sore thumb. And the girls decide that they're going to go through, since they're kind of best equipped for that, since what's happening is they have to go around to the other side and open the door that way so that the kids can actually move, the rest of the guys can actually move on. But Karasume is openly against this since even though they're more than capable of defending themselves, they're kind of also girls, and they could easily be at a disadvantage, mainly because there could be a lot of horny guys in the club, and he doesn't want to risk it. So instead, they decide to go with Plan B. They dress up Nagisa as a girl and send him in with them, much to Nagisa's chagrin. So yeah, this is just an entire sequence that plays out. Nagisa goes into the club, and he's dressed as a girl, and he's uncomfortable about the fact that he's dressed like a girl. But he decides to. But he's basically the escort for the actual girls, so that they can actually get to the door and do what they need to do. But in any case, he goes through, and at which point we're met with a guy named Yuji, who is bored out of his mind, and notes that none of the girls are really interesting, and then he sees Nagisa and immediately falls in love with him. So yeah, and sure enough, immediately he usually walks up to Nagisa and asks him out, and not asks her out. He doesn't know that Nagisa is actually a guy at this stage in the series, but basically the girls and especially Meg, they kind of push him to actually go out with him and actually hang out with him for a bit while they try to work their way through and try to get to the door so that they can let the rest of the guys in. And Nagisa reluctantly agrees and goes with Yuji for the time being. And meanwhile, while the girls go to work their way to the entryway and try to get the door open. And Nagisa through his conversation with Yuji finds out that Yuji's father is actually famous and a little bit of a pervert. So. And Yuji kind of resents him a little bit, and also because of that, Yuji actually has taken up to smoking marijuana, which I should point out is illegal for the most part, regardless of where you are. But Nagisa points out that it's especially bad for him because of all the side effects that cannabis actually has on the human body, and tells him to throw it away, pointing out that he shouldn't be worried about it and shouldn't use it to take the edge off, and that his teacher told him that he needs to. That's not a very good thing for them to be taking, and also points out that Core Sensei told them that it's mainly a way for people to just kind of deal with their problems, which sets Yuji off, and he points out that he's ultimately that his teacher doesn't know him well at all, and he doesn't know what kind of stuff he's going through, and that's hard being a guy, and that girls basically have it easy since all they have to worry about is putting makeup on, and that's kind of it. At which point the girls actually go to run into some guys, and the guys begin to threaten them, pointing out that they should learn to stay their place, and also they try to flirt with the girls kind of inappropriately, and the rest of the girls proceed to deal with it, but then Kata, a girl who we haven't met up to this point, but is prominently debuted in this episode. She points out that her parents are kind of helicopter parents, and then inexplicably pulls out a Yakuza pin, which sets the guys off, and they realize that they shouldn't mess with these girls, and immediately hightail it out of there. At which point she reveals that she actually swiped the Yakuza pin from Irina, and that she hopes to be the kind of assassin that Irina is one day, pointing out that Irina is a person with multiple skill sets and backgrounds, and is able to fit into any sort of situation regardless of where she is, and deeply admires her because of that, and hopes to one day be an assassin much like her. So yeah, she admires Irina and wants to be more like her. But in any case, they get to the door where they're supposed to be, and they discover a bouncer there. At which point they realize that they're going to need Nagisa's help, and they send Kaede to go fetch him. Which, much to Yuji's chagrin, as he realizes that they only just started talking, and is reluctant to let her go. So when Nagisa regroups with the rest of the group and tells them to never do that again, they're immediately approached by Yuji, who decides to have a dance battle with them since nobody has, according to himself, has been able to resist his sweet dance moves. And also during this moment, the OP plays, which is one of the funniest things ever. And as he's dancing, but unfortunately he spills a drink on some dude's shirt, and the girls quickly realize that they have an opening and proceed to one-shot the guy in the face and knock him out, and pose him as a drunk guy so that the bouncer will leave and help carry him out of the bar. And it works, and the girls proceed to open the door and the rest of the class leaves. At which point Nagisa and Yuji have one final conversation where Nagisa points out that he knows it's hard and points out to Yuji that he knows it's hard that sometimes girls can be a lot cooler than him, and he knows that better than anybody, and also knows that he's also been a bit embarrassed by the whole situation as well, but points out that that shouldn't deter him from actually asking girls out, since he knows that girls are since he knows that even if in a world where girls can be just as cool as guys, that he shouldn't be intimidated by that, and that he should just try to be the best himself as he can be. And with that, Nagisa leaves and then proceeds to get changed back into his guy clothes. And then tells the rest of the class to stop bringing it up, pointing out that he's kind of embarrassed about the whole situation and wants to put it behind him, and also that he doesn't want to just kind of, be known for this, pointing out that he just kind of didn't contribute at all, but kind of points out that that's not true and that there's at least one person who's happy that he showed up. And indeed, Yuji, realizing that Nagisa is right, gives up on smoking marijuana in a very visual style of him placing it on the drink tray that one of the bussers has. So, but with that, they can proceed to the VIP lounge, which is the final leg before they actually get to the main bad guy of the arc. So they quickly realize that it's heavily guarded and not by hotel staff, as Ritsu points out. As it turns out, some of the VIP people there actually bring their own bodyguards with them, and that these guys may or may not be working for their guy. So they quit and they realize they need to diverge a strategy. At which point, Koro Sensei reveals that he noticed that Terasuka has been carrying a unique little weapon around in his bag, and that they could come in handy here, pointing out that they need to knock both the guys out at once. At which point he asks one of his buddies for help in distracting him, and Karma even comes up with an idea for them to actually distract him. Basically the kid just walks up to these two very intimidating looking guys, calls them nothing more than balls of meat with clothes on, and then just hightails it out of there. Which gives the Terasuka his opening to paralyze the two dudes, and reveals that he actually has some stun guns in his backpack that he openly admits that he was going to use on Koro Sensei, and he didn't get the opportunity to, and so he's using them for the first time now on some actual humans. And when the rest of the class ask him where he actually got the money for them, which is revealed to actually be the money that he got from Shiro, and from Shiro basically. Basically Shiro paid him off and for what he did, and he used that money to buy some stun guns. But he plays it up. But he tells him that he plays it off, that he didn't do any of that. He didn't actually get paid by anybody. He just kind of came into some money, maybe, and he used those to buy the stun guns. But in any case, with that, they proceed to leave to go up to the next floor, which happens to be a giant theater, and they quickly realize that they only have one guy left to face. The guy they're facing only has like one assassin, most likely only has one or two assassins left to face. And also while they're en route, they actually loot the guys, and Karasuma also points out that he recognizes the two thugs that they just tackled and knocked out, and they decide to loot them for their weapons, and pull out two very real guns, and they give it to Chiba and Hayami, who are the two snipers that we've established in the last couple of episodes. But basically Koro Sensei gives them the guns, but also remarks that he's not going to allow them to kill anybody with them, since these are live guns and not the little BB guns that they've been using up to this point. These are this has real live ammunition in it, but he points out that a skilled assassin will be able to use a gun effectively and not kill somebody with it. So he trusts that they'll be able to use it non-lethally. With that, they proceed to go to the theater, where Gastro shows up and they hide from him, but he also hears them and seems to know that they're there. So, yeah, and this episode ends with them about to face off against Gastro, and also this episode kind of sort of teaches Karma some humility, but not really. He's still a sadist, but now he's learned to respect his foes in combat, even if he is still a little bit of a sadist. But, and also Nagisa dresses up as a girl for a couple of minutes and meets a guy named Yuji and helps him get over his problems. But yeah, I'm openly gonna say this isn't the last time we're gonna see Yuji. He shows up in an arc later, so we're going to see him again, and he is going to play. So this isn't the last of his arc that we're going to see. So yeah. In any case, that's my review of Assassination Classroom. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks, and I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. And also next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!